want to thank y'all for coming out. We were here maybe about a year ago, a little less than a year ago. I told you we'd be back, and here we are. So, again, I want to thank y'all. I always say it. There's nothing more valuable than your time, and we appreciate you giving us some of yours to come talk about what's going on in Terrebonne Parish and specifically in Dularge. And so we're going to have a few different things, which I love. This community is already, somebody's going to say a prayer. We got some food that was cooked. So thank you to St. Eloi KC's for the shrimp jambalaya. Give them a round of applause if y'all don't mind. And then we're going to have our deacon here lead us in a prayer.
I wrote it down because my wife said I talked too much, so I'm going to try and keep it short. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we come before you today grateful for the gift of community and the opportunity to gather together. We ask for your guidance in our discussion and our decisions, that they may be marked with wisdom, fairness, and respect for all. Bless all leaders, neighbors here present, and help us to listen with open hearts and speak with integrity. May the work we do in this meeting serve the good community and strengthen our bonds and unity in our community. We ask this through our Lord. Amen.
Amen. We're going to do a pledge while we add it to here. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. You may be seated. So we're going to introduce a few people, and we're going to get right into some information that I know you came for, which was one to understand how Mardi Gras View Stand is going to be set up this year, right? That's why everybody's here? No? Okay, my bad. So let's start with my team here. Actually, you know what? I'm not going to do that. We got some pretty important people here, so I'm going to start with those people. So we have Senator Mike Fazy. We have State Representative Jessica Domain. And you must not have been right there when I was grabbing. We have State Representative Jerome Zerang. We have Councilman Danny Babin. We have Constable Dale Terrio, which I think cooked the food, even though Travis might take the credit. We have Mike Sobear with Waterworks. See him back there sitting down. Kim Champon, Justice of the Peace, over here. I think that's everybody on that side. All right, and we're going to jump to, we got Mr. Scott Boyle with DOTD. And then we have our team. We have Ryan Malonzo and Russell Waters, with the comms and the people doing the filming. We have Chief Corey Henry with Home of Fire. Chief Travis Terrio, Police Chief, HPD. Mr. Hillary Domain, who is our Quality of Life Director. Clay Knocking, who is our Solid Waste Director. We have Noah Lered, who's our Chief Administrative Officer. Kelly Bernardo, who's Housing and Human Services Director, right there. Mr. David Rome, Public Works Director, back there in the back. Mark Black, who's our Coastal Restoration Director, over here. And Robbie Lee, who's our Chief Communications Officer, over here. I want to thank them all for being here. I don't know if I left anybody out, anybody I didn't cover, anybody else that wants to be recognized. All right, so I always say it, but I already know what the answer is going to be. We have a presentation. I know you don't care about that. We're going to go ahead and start having a conversation about DOTD. I do have to say that I feel like between the governor and Glenn Leday, who is our new DOT secretary, along with Scott and Jacob and Eric and their team, we've been having conversations probably more than we want to with each other. And so we have an update on the Dularge Bridge that we're going to talk about tonight and kind of give a plan of what's going to be going on with that. And I just want to really commend them. And you can see we have Jessica and Mike and Z over there and Danny. We all have been working on this every day. I guarantee there's nothing more important than make sure that our roads and bridges get repaired and restored to the level they should be. And so with that being said, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Scott. and he's going to give us some updates.
Thank you, President Bergeron. Good evening, everybody. Thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be here. I'm Scott Boyle. I'm the District Engineer Administrator for DOTD. My district encompasses the entire greater New Orleans area, including Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. I've been with the department for 30 years, and I'm very happy and proud to be here to be presenting this evening. I want to talk to y'all. We've had some issues with some of the bridges in this area over the last couple months. We had structural issues with the Boudreaux Canal Bridge. We've had issues, ongoing construction project with the Dagville Bridge. We're having issues with the Dularge Bridge. It's been what seems like one thing after another, but what I can tell you is that our team has been working very hard to try and mitigate some of these issues that we're having. We've been working very closely with all of the folks up here. They've been on top of this. As President Bergeron had said, these meetings and deliberations have been going on every single day to try to get some of these issues taken care of. These are not issues that we can flip a light switch and we go from a problem to it's fixed. You know, some of these are just major structural issues that require not only a lot of intensive work, but planning that goes into it before that. So I want to talk about the Dularge Bridge and go back a little bit with that one, about a month or so ago, and then we'll talk about what's going on presently, and then we can get into maybe some of the other bridges that we're looking at right now. The Dularge Bridge, we had to shut this bridge down recently. We had some motor issues. Okay, and this was something that we thought was a fairly straightforward repair. We had to go ahead and get these motors retooled, and we used a local vendor in this area to get that work done with our prime contractor that was working on that. And once we finally got that issue fixed, that took a few weeks and caused closure, in addition to what we were dealing with at Boudreaux Canal. But once we got the bridge open for a very short period of time, we realized that there were some major structural issues with one of the towers, okay? And I will tell you this, we do our best to keep bridges open. I've been around a long time, and there's been situations where we've had major structural issues on spans of elevated roadway, and we've been able to keep one lane open and one lane closed where the bad span is, just to keep traffic moving once we've done a very detailed safety analysis. So when we close down a bridge, it's for a serious reason. It's not, we don't take that lightly. We realize that this is a community that's surrounded by water, that there's not an unlimited ways in and out of different routes. So these are things that we look at very closely. When we have to take it out of service, it's for a very good reason. So we had to do this at Dularge recently and take it out of service. We had a structural team come in and look at this bridge, and we have a national contractor that's in here looking at this, and we believe, based on what they've seen and the repair strategy, that they have to get one of these columns fixed, the one that's lifting up when the bridge is actually moving in an up and down position. We believe that we're going to be able to have it open during curfew hours, not totally and fully open, but at least get it open during peak traffic times within the next 5 weeks. I know that's not tomorrow, but we feel happy about that. We were looking at potentially having this bridge closed down for 6 months with no chance of opening at all. So the idea that we can even get it open during the morning peak, the afternoon peak hours of traffic, and then in the evening peak is a win, considering what else we're dealing with other locations right now, okay? So that's where we are. We're going to be working as expeditiously as possible to get this open, and we're going to keep plugging away until we can get it open in a situation where it's going to be back to normal operation, where the only time you're going to be stopping is when it's being raised for a marine vessel. So we're still working with the Coast Guard to see if we can modify that curfew once this 5-week time frame, but the contractor is in the process of developing a plan. They're ordering materials, and we're going to be having weekly meetings with your leadership that's standing up here at the gym, as well as our headquarters leadership that specializes in doing these very complicated bridge repairs. So that's where we are with that. We just finished work on the Boudreaux Canal Bridge that was an emergency repair. This was something that, an inspection revealed major issues, and we had to close that down. And by the hard work of President Bergeron and Representative Domain and Senator Fessy and Councilman, we were able to expedite that work and get that done ahead of schedule and have just another route open for members of this community to utilize these routes for not only for driving, but for marine operation as well. So I'm going to turn it back over to President Bergeron, and if there's any questions that I'll try to answer. If we, I got some answers, but if I don't have it, we'll definitely try to get it and get that to you as soon as possible.
Thank you, sir. Any questions related to that? Okay, we're gonna have a few here. So we have a mic. I would love to pass this around. If you can, yeah. Test 1, 2.
Hi, I'm Heidi Boudreaux. You did not give us an answer as what's wrong with the bridge. You said that you were getting ready to start it and give it during peak hours, but you did not tell us that it's stable, it's not going to break again. We need to know more.
It's not stable right now. That's why it's.
So
that's
you're
why it's
saying you're
closed
going
down.
to open it, it's going to break again, and we're all going to be stuck. That's not a good answer.
No, that's not the rest. That's not the rest of the answer. It's not stable right now. That's why it's closed. Once we perform this repair, and that we look at it and determine that it is stable, then we're going to open it up and look. We're looking at other things too.
You've told us nothing. You're telling us that you think it's going to work. You have not told us that there is a feasible study of what is wrong with the bridge, that it's going to be good for everybody to go over. And it's the only bridge other than the navigation, which can break any day. And I'm sorry, this is why everybody's here today. So we need more answers.
No, I understand, and I appreciate that feedback. We do not open bridges unless they're deemed structurally sound. Bridges have structural issues. These things happen every day. They happen here. I got 3 bridges in New Orleans that are closed right now, and when they're not structurally sound, we close them down as a matter of public safety, and once we get them repaired, then we open them back up. And if there's another issue that happens, then we may have to close it back down. We don't foresee these type of things. Sometimes they just happen when we're dealing with structures that are of advanced age. A lot of times there's not a lot of predictability in these things, but what I can tell you is that safety is of the highest priority here at the department, and we don't open anything if it's deemed unsafe or a viable threat to the motoring public.
And I just want to thank Scott for being here today. President Bergeron and I have requested a detailed report, which we should be receiving tomorrow. When we do, we will share that with all of our constituents, and we'll share it with you as well. We know little pieces of things, but of course, without having the detailed report, I'd much rather put that out and give that to you guys. And so we'll have that tomorrow. And so we'll get that to you tomorrow.
Just one question. You said the bridge is unstable. What is unstable? The pillars themselves, the bridge, the anchor bolts? What exactly is unstable?
One of the support columns at the connection, the anchor bolts. Yes, sir.
So the anchor bolts is the problem.
Connecting to one of the support towers. Yes, sir.
Okay. So that's the main thing that's the problem.
That's what we're focusing on right now among some other things.
Are we going to do something different, or are we going to try to do the same thing again?
Well, can you clarify that, please?
What I'm saying is, are you going to just re-drill anchor bolts and with the same problem that we have now that might happen 20 years from now? Or 10 years from now? Have the
We're-
same problem?
We are going to attempt to stabilize the support column onto the ground, and it is going to be with anchor bolts, and the typical standard of care for that is going to be to try to fasten it to the ground.
Okay.
So,
Because I know that the Huey-P. Bridge, they built that cage around the original pillar. Then they turned around and put the overpass or whatever, and then they turned around and cemented around that. Is that a viable alternative to what you've got now?
I'm not really sure. We have a team of consultants that are looking at, and we're going to do the most efficient repair that we're able to, that's going to put the bridge back in service. That's not only going to be the quickest way to get the bridge back in service, but one that's going to provide longevity to the repair as long as appropriate, as long as it can be. I want to say this is a bridge that goes up and down quite a bit. Okay, we were looking at the bridge logs, and this is a bridge that I believe has over 500 openings a month, which is pretty significant. So, there's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of traffic on it, and, again, I want to reiterate, we have a team of professionals that are looking at this, professional engineers that are putting their name on the line, that understand that people are going to be driving over this, that this bridge is going to go up and boats are going to be going under it. So these are not things that we take loosely, as far as we take these very seriously, okay? So
Okay.
we're looking at an efficient and a repair that's going to have longevity.
Okay, can we also get some kind of waiver from the Coast Guard to bring down the Dagville Bridge, to open it for traffic?
Yes, we're working on that. We believe that waiver is going to come right after Labor Day. But yeah, that is in the works.
And what about the tunnel lights? Because we have wrecks in the tunnel every day, it seems like, because of the lights not being on, not being working.
I understand. We've gotten that feedback quite a bit. We've had some major electrical issues in that tunnel. That tunnel's set for a rehabilitation within the next couple years. Funding scheduled at this time. We've gotten a lot of those lights back online recently.
Yeah,
There's
I've seen
still
that.
quite a bit of them out, but we've made some significant progress. We've gotten the low-hanging fruit within the last month within that tunnel with those lights. Once we get the Dularge Bridge back open, we don't want to get in there. In order to fix those lights, we're going to have to shut that tunnel down. We don't want to do that right now, okay? So when we get that bridge back open, we're going back to work. We had started doing that after the motor repair at Dularge.
Right.
We're gonna try to figure out what's going on with the rest of these lights. We've identified large swaths that we think of light strings that are out that could be tied to a fuse, it could be tied to a bad line. We've been trying to do these repairs in-house with my electricians. If we can't figure it out after that, we're gonna get a contract and we're gonna get somebody to come in and get them fixed.
Okay.
So that's the plan with the lights.
We
So
just-
I appreciate everybody's patience on that. It's been something that needs to be taken care of as soon as possible.
Yeah, I know, and just with the Dularge Bridge, we just don't want it to break when people are on it or whatever. I mean, if it's gotta be closed because it's not safe, then we just close it, we deal with it.
I understand. Thank you for that comment.
There was, well, I just want to make sure that we didn't everybody, this gentleman had his, yes, sir.
Hi, Mike Io here. My thing is, you say the structural bolts are damaged on the Dularge Bridge.
Yes.
Do they have to disassemble that bridge to get to those bolts? Would that be the process to get into them? Because if that's laying on, if the bridge is sitting on top of that foundation where they stripped, they can't reach them otherwise.
My understanding of the repair is that it's not going to be a very intrusive type of repair. It is going to take, we're anticipating up to 5 weeks, and that's not only going to be just work, but just gathering materials. But my understanding is it's a fairly straightforward. We're just learning about all of this, but this is going to be a fairly straightforward repair.
But that's going to be kind of just a temporary repair, isn't it? Because you say you're going to have just open and closing at certain times. So that's not a permanent repair.
No, that repair is going to be permanent. The reason why after that we are going to limit it to curfew times is that we're analyzing the other towers and see what effect it's going to have once we fasten that tower that's loose. That's going to put other structural forces on the other 3 support towers. So we need to look at that. And if we don't have any issues, that's going to be good news, okay? But we have to get that done first, and we have to look at that and see how it reacts to the repair. You know, these are, you know, again, these are engineering principles. These are very data-based decisions we're looking at. But this is not 2 + 2 = 4. It's just not. There's a lot of variability. We're talking about a massive structure that's hundreds of tons. We're talking about a lot of forces. So this is just not a straightforward, you know, taking out a bolt under your car and draining the oil and then putting it back and filling it up. There's just a lot of unknowns that we're trying to capture and figure out what's going on and why this happened. We think we know what it is, and we're going in that direction. But we have to not only look at that repair and then see how it's going to analyze, and then once that happens, then we're going to make other decisions.
Well, that's why I thought if you disassemble that bridge, move it out the way, check everything, repair it, put the bridge back together.
When you
And
say
yes,
disassemble, do you mean
take the lift structures.
take the spans off?
Yes, they have to be disassembled, I understand that. But to me, that's more of a permanent solution, and it would take time, but if they put the people on it to work it, seems to me, yeah, we could put up with it until you get it fixed permanently.
That would take quite a bit of time. More time than most people in this room would be willing to wait for.
Well, I mean, we waited for the Bird Bridge for what, over 3 years? You know, it was ridiculous on that. Hell, the San Francisco Bridge was built in 3 years. You know,
I appreciate that. I appreciate that feedback.
But
You know, this is not a temporary Band-Aid that we're doing here. This is a
Okay.
repair of the damage.
Okay.
Yeah.
because it just seems like, to me, if it was disassembled, structurally checked out, refitted, put back together, yeah, it would take a year, maybe 18 months, but I'd rather have that done and know it's solid than something that's just kind of temporary.
I'm gonna add, if you don't mind, real quick, just because I watched the video and everything, and I'm just gonna say a few things that maybe makes it a little bit better to understand. So where the bridge connects to the concrete, there are 4 columns, right? They're working on repairing 1 column that is gonna hopefully solidify it to the concrete, right? You got an anchor bolt that goes through. They're gonna be attaching some metal to the beams on the side of it and bolting that column back down. Once that's done, and correct me if I'm wrong, that process is 5 weeks to then start testing to make sure that the other 3 aren't affected or still work properly compared to the 1. That's what we're talking about with the 5-week period to get that done, to better open it up. And then maybe if you can elaborate, like what's next after that?
All of the bolts for all of these columns were installed at a relatively similar time. Not at the exact same time, maybe not even a week apart, but all of the bolts for all of the support columns were probably made and installed in a very close proximity, okay? So we've already got an issue where we've got some bolts that are sheared on one of the columns. We need to look at those other bolts. Those other bolts are fine right now, but yes. Those are fine right now, but we want to also check them once We fastened this one that's been lifting up, and, okay, we wanna look at those other bolts and see how they react. It's gonna be different forces on them when the column that's been moving slightly is bolted down. It's gonna create other forces, and we need to make sure that those bolts are okay. And that's part of our process, so. And we check these things very closely and look at them and analyze them, and then recheck them and look at them again. So that's where we are right now with that.
Okay, the navigation bridge, what condition is that in? Because if that breaks, do y'all have a plan for us?
I don't know the specific condition. I can tell you it's in serviceable condition at this time, and the plan would be with any bridge that we have is that if it does go out, then we would move quickly to try to determine an issue. I mean, we need to understand anything can break at any time. It really, it's unpredictable. You could go outside and your car might not start. You're not planning on that happen, but what are you gonna do if that happens? You're gonna either get somebody to give you a jump, you're gonna call somebody to come tow you, or somebody to come help you. These are things, we inspect these bridges every 2 years. We inspect them every 2 years, and these bridges, each one of them has a story. Okay, a lot of them are very old, but they're still in enough. They're in good condition to be in service. So the plan would be like any bridge that would go out unexpectedly, is that we would start moving to get it fixed, depending on what the issue is.
Hello. Oh, okay. We'll get you the mic next. I just wanted to say I appreciate y'all coming in to talk about the short game on how we can get this thing fixed. We all urgently need it. This isn't a request. This is something that's directly affecting us in a major way. But besides that, I'd like to know what the long game is. We get these repairs done and we get to come in and out. We've been living here, a lot of people all their lives. I want to know if we're going to start a process, the maintenance on these things we've been dealing with for many years. Can we move forward to start the process to get approval for an overpass that'll get rid of this, just like they did on Main and Park, so that we can go over both bridges and have on and off ramps, and then you could save all these headaches about having to come out here and how we could fix this problem. I would like to see having that process move forward.
Thank you for that feedback, sir. These are tied to long-term planning and long-term sustainable funding. So these are things that both have to come together in order to do that. The planning part is sometimes easier than the long-term funding. There's a lot of needs, and there's a lot of needs in the resources. We're doing the best we can with the resources that we have.
I understand that. And I think that it turns into a bit of a political thing. We can get all kind of money to rebuild downtown and all of this, but we need logistics. Let's put the money where it really benefits us.
I will tell you, I come down here, I meet with my staff down here, and I'm looking around. I see a lot of projects. I see a lot of roadway resurfacing. Bridges are complicated from a funding perspective. We're going to rehabilitate the tunnel.
Well, I'd appreciate it if we can get it started.
Did you notice the grass going down for some?
I did.
Is that acceptable to you?
We'll get the mic back over to that end. I've got a question over here.
have a couple of questions. My first was, when was the last time that this bridge, the Dularge Bridge, was inspected? And I just heard you say they're inspected every 2 years. Are these inspections part of the public record? So I could get my hands on one so I could read what you are finding on the bridge that we have to travel on, maybe multiple times a day?
We can talk after this meeting, and I will direct you.
There may be more people than just me that thinking about this.
I know, but I'm going to explain the process. I want to explain the process first to everybody, but the answer to that question is yes, there's some parts of the inspection report that are protected, okay, but you can submit a public records request, and the parts that are not protected or need to be redacted, these are federal requirements as far as what's protected and what's not. This is not Terrebonne Parish requirements or DOTD requirements. These are federal requirements. But certainly, if you can submit a public records request for any information, and we'll try to get that to you.
Thank you. My second concern is this idea, and I'm still sure I'm not wrapping my brain around what you are totally saying about this 5-week process, but I'm thinking about what was the estimated number of cars passing this bridge 50 odd years ago when it was built in comparison to what goes today, and the number of times it's open, and you've already mentioned that a little bit. So if you're suggesting to us this quick 5-week repair can bring us back to a safe level on a bridge that's 50 years old, that's getting way more use than anybody anticipated, how safe is this? I mean, I do not want to be in a position where I am being offered thoughts and prayers because something unfortunate happens. And I'm just not feeling, my trust has been eroded in this whole process, and not you specifically, but I need to know that these bridges are safe for us. We are tax-paying, voting citizens that expect more than we have received.
Thank you for that feedback, ma'am. I'll start from the beginning. You had asked what was the estimated average daily traffic when the bridge was built. I don't know, but I would suspect that it's quite a bit less than what it is now. Okay, it's a significant amount now. Typically, when we do either a road project or a bridge project, we do have an estimate of what that infrastructure is going to carry. So I do suspect that it's much more now than it was then. We inspect the bridges every 2 years. The last inspection was after we put the motors back in and we discovered this issue. I don't know offhand. I don't know offhand. I mean, I can find that out. I don't know when was the last. It was within a 2-year period. I don't know when was the last time it was inspected. We have hundreds. We have, I believe, 700 bridges in my district, and they're inspecting them every day, almost 7 days a week in some cases. So I don't know this one in particular, but I can tell you it was in the last 2 years, and we inspected it though when we were looking at the motors. As far as reassurances, you concerned about safety. We not only we're going to inspect this bridge and make sure that the repair has held, but we're going to look at, again, we're going to do a full analyzing of it, and that's, that's true of every bridge. Every bridge that you drive over, that bridge has been inspected. We look for cracks, we look for settlement, we look for efflorescence under the substructure, Sometimes they go in there with diving gear and have to go in pipes to, for these little small culvert bridges. So every bridge you go over has been inspected. Again, it's one of the most critical jobs that the department does to make sure that these bridges are safe before you drive over. So that's what we do. And we're not gonna open it until that we have verified that it is safe to do so. I'm sorry? No. It's gonna be a full opening.
We have a question over here.
Yes, sir. Ernie Price. Mention the structure of the bridges. I note you have a scheduled reports, inspections, and reports to be filled out for DOT requirements.
Yes.
I agree with the gentleman about overpass. I think overpass would be a much greater replacement if replacement was to come.
Yes, sir.
But in the event that we maintain the bridge, are there any kind of monitoring system, such as cable span bridges? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Each
some
cable
spans have strain
each
gauges
cable
on them.
has electronic monitor, and it's monitored to such preciseness. It's like how people monitor tsunamis and earthquakes, and that's pretty accurate. And I think that if maybe we could look into this kind of monitoring system that might give us some kind of early detection of a problem, it might benefit us and save us a lot of money.
Thank you for that feedback. I've seen strain gauges that we've put on different structures. We typically don't do that, unless there's a known issue. Again, there's a lot of bridges out there. We're looking at them. We typically, that would not be something that we would just have on every bridge as a preemptive measure. I have seen strain gauges put on bridges when we've had a super load go over it that was well over what the posted allowable load rating would be, and that we have to, we have a paid load and an escorted load from state police, and when we do that, I've seen strain gauges to make sure that there's not excessive deflection or structural damage, but just under normal circumstances, even for bridges of advanced age, that's not something that we would typically do, but I certainly appreciate that feedback. And we will, again, we can plan for the future and look at that, and I certainly can relay that feedback to the appropriate departments that are in the planning section for our future needs in this area.
Okay, Tommy Dufresne. All right, so knowing what we know now, are you guys gonna go back to, once the 5 weeks is done, you open the bridge back and you monitor to see if these other 3 are taking any kind of load? Are we gonna, knowing what you know now and all the traffic, the more traffic that's passing over this bridge over the years, are you gonna stick to the 2-year inspection? Or are you gonna start monitoring this until a few years down the road, start monitoring every other month, every 3 months, until we know this bridge is gonna work?
That's a great question, and I need to clarify something. The 2 years is a standard inspection cycle. We have bridges that are of very advanced age and lower condition ratings that we do inspect on a more frequent cycle. I don't know if this bridge is going to fall into that category. I can ask about that, but I do not know if it's going to be a situation where we typically drop down. Once we go from 2 years, we would drop down to 1 year, and then there's some bridges that come down to even 6 months, and those are ones that are on the priority list to get repaired. Okay, I mean replaced. I said repaired, replaced. So I do not know if the inspection cycle will be dropped for this bridge, but that's something I can relay back to President Bergeron to determine if we are going to do that. But it may not need to. It may not, once we do the repair and we determine that it's in serviceable, safe condition, we may not need to come back out, unless there's a reason.
Scott, I'd like to clarify the gentleman's question a little bit, because you mentioned something, sir. You said that after the 5 weeks and the tower is replaced and it's back online. Scott, can you explain what's happening after the 5 weeks? So 5 weeks, approximately, could be less, that the one tower, the north tower, is going to be repaired, and then after that, and it's open to curfew, what's the plan after that for the Dularge Bridge?
We're going to monitor it. We're going to analyze it. We're going to keep monitoring it. And then if we determine that the other support columns are still in serviceable, safe condition, then we're going to open it back up. So I'm being very conservative here about this time frame, because there's still a lot of unknowns. And when I put numbers out there and dates and milestones and deadlines, if I don't meet those, I've made promises to a lot of people who are very concerned about this. So the plan is, Representative, is that once we're done with the repair and the analyzing and all of it, we're going to open it back up with the intention of it being in that condition for a long time.
Thank you. I had a question up here.
Hey, Richard Davidson. My question is, anything can happen at any time. Let's say right now, barge just hit the Homer Nab. How you getting home? I mean, that's what I want to know. That's what I'm worried about. Where you sleeping at night? What you gonna do if we had kids on the other side of the bridge? What happens? What's the backup plan? What do we do? Just tell us what to do on that.
There's nothing that we can do other than we're going to detour people to the viable routes that are open.
Where? There's no bridge. We're on an island. We're on an island. That's what I want to know. We have no way. I just want to know how we're going to get off or on. If that happens, we have nothing. That's what we need to be thinking about.
There are some options. We have. We have a couple bridges that are fairly close to being repaired.
So I can tell you, we've had conversations on, and I heard ambulance, I heard a couple things. So we are having regular conversations with fire, police, and ambulance about what the alternatives are. Can we place services? One of the things that Acadian talks about on a regular basis is AirMed, right? So when it comes to an emergency, if we got to get somebody out, definitely AirMed. There's conversations, and maybe Scott will hold his ears for a second, but if something happens, and then understanding that I have, the biggest load on this bridge is when it is open, right? It's a wind load as it addresses how it connects to the concrete, right? So as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but as the bridge closes, it's a different load. But the problem is because the Coast Guard says we have to open that bridge 500 times a month, right? It's the same problem we deal with H&C, the same problem we do every other bridge, right? We even worked on adjusted curfews, and then that got changed. And so we're pushing, every one of us is pushing to say, if there's an opportunity to close the bridge, to make it where it's vehicle traffic only, for a situation where the H&C would break or get hit, if we could force it closed where cars can pass on it safely, we're gonna make that happen. If we gotta do the same thing with the Dularge Bridge, we're gonna make it happen, right? Nobody will be stuck. If you look at the other routes of traffic, and I think I have it up here on the Dularge, the Dularge pontoon bridge. Dulac, I'm sorry. So Dulac, we got hit by a boat, right? So right now, I know. So Dularge Pontoon Bridge, $1 million worth of damage. We've been working the fight to get that repaired with the company, going through different things to get it done. We just pulled the trigger, we're getting it done, right? That bridge right there, we're hoping within, I would say about hopefully 2.5, 3 months, it'll be open. And I say that because, again, if we gotta close the HNC to get cars across it, if we gotta close the Dularge to get cars across it, we are not gonna put people on an island. If we gotta get a ferry, if we gotta get a barge, y'all have our commitment that we're gonna do everything we can so that cars can get in and out of Dularge, no matter what happens, right? And so, I'm sorry, what, I could close one down? So we say close one down. The only ones we can close is Dularge, and if we close it, they can't fix it. And at a certain point, Coast Guard's telling us, you can't close it, you gotta open it up. Huh? So what I'm telling you is if we have an emergency where agency's down, right? I'm telling you right now, we're gonna do everything we can to get cars in and out of Dularge, to figure out a way to do that while we're getting repairs done. At a certain point, if it's an emergency and both bridges are broken and bridges of people on an island, we're gonna do what we gotta do.
They would put, I can't, I'm not speaking for the Coast Guard. I can tell you there's an area in Jefferson Parish called Lafitte, and it's an island, and their bridge went out, and at some point after Hurricane Ida, and we had to get a ferry to get people on and off, and we did that ferry for quite a while. So.
I have other questions over here. Yes, sir.
So I notice Coast Guard's not here. We didn't ask to be this island. When I was a little boy, I don't remember the Intercoastal being dug, but I do remember the ship channel being dug. Why can't, if we had to, the question was, what we're going to do in that emergency? And we would have to keep the bridge and let us get over the bridge. Can Coast Guard redirect traffic through the ship channel and around home? But Coast Guard's not here. That's who we need to ask the questions to. The other question is, the East Park Bridge going down on the other side, half of it is blocked up. Why not open that up to a one lane going all the way as far as you can, stopping the traffic from coming to the bridge, and let 2 lanes come down instead of blocking it down to 1 lane. Let traffic flow better. That doesn't take much engineering. I just graduated from high school.
We're looking very closely at that right now.
We're looking very closely at that right now. We made that request about 3 weeks ago. Yeah. Is there
So
any other question?
I'm gonna answer that question because myself and Travis have been flying drones and getting DOT out here to try to figure out, do we close this? Do we open that? Do we stop left turns here? 95% of the cars that are getting to Howard Avenue are making a left and making a left, right? So you can't send them down Prospect, and if you did 2 lanes, all the cars are still making a left and making a left, right? Talking about Howard,
yeah,
and whether you do 1 lane, right?
It would be 2 lanes going up to that. Twin spans going all the way to Howard, and let them disperse off to another bridge, going to the tunnel, or going straight.
Come on, see your daddy. Y'all want to see a battle right here? Watch this.
I don't even know if this is fair. That's my dad, Scott. So the deal with it, whenever they're coming down Howard and we're looking at it, but we really can't turn it into a one-way. When we met with Scott, we were looking at us calling it a detour and looking at that. And Scott asked us if we give him some time. So we went out and DOT actually went out and timed some lights. We retimed them. And we've been putting police cars out, unmarked units, trying to time it, how long it's taking us to get from point A to point B. We have units that are out doing what we can with traffic, okay? Now, whenever you start talking about taking it and moving it and sending everything south on the one way, what we're looking at is whenever it's getting to Howard Avenue and everything's wanting to turn left, they're turning left and then they're making another left wanting to come back over to Twin Span. So we're trying to figure out how much that's actually going to help us. So right now, from what we've seen with the drone footage, at the present time, it doesn't look like that would have that much of an effect on the traffic going eastbound or south. But that is something that we met with DOTD. Now, I know I've gotten a lot of messages on Facebook asking why police officers here, why police officers there. So I'm just going to, while I got the mic, I'm just going to address all of that. In particular, there's one that we put at industrial and van that people have a question about. Okay, there's a reason that's there. I can take that police officer, put him in that intersection, and in less than a minute, I can slam pack everything on Van Avenue, and the traffic's going to be backed up all the way to industrial. The purpose of that police officer being right there is if the traffic backs up to Industrial Avenue and we stop having movement of vehicles on Van, we're going to take the traffic and we're diverting everything down Industrial Boulevard. No choice. If you're coming off of Dularge, you're just going to take a right so we can just get everybody off the by and then everybody can make a decision on which way they want to go. We don't want to do that because we already know everybody's inconvenienced enough because people aren't going to be happy about that as well. It would take 16 police officers to effectively direct traffic in East Houma. And whenever you think about it, that's 16 cops. Now, can we do that for 1 or 2 days? Yeah. Is it feasible for the amount of time that this bridge is going to be shut down? It's not. You have funding issues, you have manpower issues, you have heat exhaustion, you have other things, and we still have our day-to-day operations with crime to fight, right? So we're doing the best we can with what we have. And by going out and timing the lights, we have found that the traffic is flowing better, okay? We put some police cars out today. And am I telling you it's the best scenario? They went out and peak traffic started in Dularge, and from Dularge to the bridge, it was 444 and 518, he was crossing Bond and Barrow. And that was in the worst case scenario traffic today. Am I going to tell you it's like that every day? No. But to address a few other things, if you notice, we have vehicles units that will put with emergency lights on at the entrance and exit of the tunnel to help out with traffic. That is to slow the traffic down going into the tunnel. Because if I don't have that unit there and I don't have that unit available, I guarantee you we can have a 3 to 5 car pileup in the bottom of the tunnel because everybody goes flying into the tunnel. And whenever they get in there, people panic, they slam on their brakes and they hit everything, okay? Last week, actually the day we had a meeting with DOTD, we were out there, traffic locked up on the west side of Houma, and it was locked up on the east side of Houma as well. In 3 minutes, we had 10 wrecks. Every police officer that we had out extra that day to direct traffic was dealing with wrecks. Whenever we have that, there's nothing that anybody can do other than get these wrecks cleared up as fast as we can, okay? Now, I can tell you that we are going to start scaling back the police presence at the intersections to see what happens now that we have the lights timed and see if that if it's manageable with just the timing of the lights. But I can tell you that, we are working with DOTD. Eventually, that will be a one-way on each side, both Main and Park, but that's not going to happen until the deck deal is done.
Okay, so in the case of emergency down here, we've already went through point A, point B, and everything else, okay? So we have a great relationship with Acadian Ambulance. We have access to their helicopter, as long as the weather is okay, okay? So the way Acadian works is their medics and their pilots determine if they're gonna fly to us or not. And it's our job as EMTs to determine how critical you are to get that air med down here, okay? Mark my words, if y'all are in trouble, I will get you off this body, okay? I have a great working relationship with the Sheriff's Office, with the Marine Division. If we gotta put you in a boat and bring you to South Houma, that's what I will do. We will take care of you guys, okay? Great working relationship with the other fire departments in this parish. If we have something that goes down in here, we will take care of you guys.
Ma'am, I'll bring it. Ma'am,
I'm Mary Frederick. I live right next to the fire department. I will offer my cattle pasture if they have to land a helicopter. I will personally cut the fence. Brian has my number. All he's got to do is call me. Dry enough, the ambulances can get in and out. Have no problem with it. Just need to be known.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And I'd like to give our first responders a round of applause, if y'all don't mind. They work hard. These guys over here and our parish workers, I'm telling you, all hours of the day, every day, they're working hard getting it. And so,
Jason, you have some more questions over here.
okay, go ahead.
I didn't get to
I didn't see any hands up, but go ahead.
some individuals over here. I'm coming around, ma'am.
I have a very, very simplistic question. We're out for 5 weeks. Is there any way y'all can take care of all the painting and washing and any cosmetic stuff that needs to be done on that bridge at the same time so they don't close down during the fall to do it again?
Yes. Yeah, we can look at that, yes. We're focused on the repair, but certainly if there's anything that we're able to address, any type of deficiencies, we certainly will look at that.
I'll add, like I know with the Boudreaux Canal Bridge, they got it open with, they got it open and then did some painting and that kind of stuff after. So on the Boudreaux Canal, we've been able to work with them. You were talking about a light. I took a picture before the motors were done. I said, before you open the bridge, fix this light on the Dularge Bridge. So the one I pointed out did. We'll go back and see about the other one. But I can tell you, I sent them a picture and the light was fixed whenever it opened back up.
We have some more questions back here too.
While the bridge is up, our grading on that bridge is deteriorating very badly. It is a patchwork. Look at it. There's patches all over. Is there any way at the same time you can fix that grading up to code? I don't think it's up to code. With the amount of traffic that is going through there, especially the 18-wheelers who are carrying these big, large equipment to Bollinger Shipyard, that grading is deteriorating.
I'm not aware of that issue. Certainly we can look at that. We can look at it. You know, I'll look at the last inspection report. Typically, there's the deficiencies with the bridge are noted, and those deficiencies are addressed based off of what the notation says. So we can look at that, ma'am. Thank you for pointing that out.
All right, Scott, hold on to that. We have lots of other people with questions. All right, hold on.
Hi, Tracy Bickham. I know everybody remembers Hurricane Ida and what it did to us. When the hurricane came, y'all, I don't know who, sent these huge trucks, double deckers. I don't think our roads and bridges were adequately able to adjust to the weight of those trucks. I don't know if y'all remember, I would call them hell trucks, because I've never seen those big trucks. They'd be parked in, yeah. So now when they were full and they would travel back to back, they'd be full of all kind of debris and household items and this, that, and the other. So they had to weigh a whole lot. And they traveled the roads, the bridges, and to me, in my opinion, that's when the roads started really getting bumpy and like we were not equipped to handle the weight of all those trucks. So we had hundreds of them. What I want to say, what I want to ask is, God forbid we have another Ida and those trucks have to come back. But will our bridges and roads be reinforced enough to be able to handle the weight of those trucks?
Thank you for that feedback, ma'am. We certainly are very mindful of the weight of vehicles as they traverse roads. I believe that the maximum allowable unpermitted weight is about 80,000 pounds. If anything over that, it requires a permit. In emergency situations, you're talking about after an event of a hurricane where we got to bring in, for debris monitoring and removal. Certainly those are extraordinary times, and we're not so much worried about the roads, but we're very worried about bridges. And unless a bridge is posted, it can handle that 80,000 pounds. And if it is posted, a posted bridge is a bridge that has issues, that has a lower allowable weight to go over it. Okay, it's a regulatory sign. It's enforceable by law. So, to answer your question, will the infrastructure handle a big debris hauling truck? Yeah, it's a caravan of them. Yes, ma'am. I understand. I'm not so much worried about that on the roads. We strategically look at that when they're planning routes on bridges. They look up these posted bridges that have some deficiencies with them that don't allow the full maximum allowable weight by law. And so those would be, that is taken into consideration, but during extraordinary times, we're trying to balance a lot of different things, but certainly we don't want a debris truck going over a bridge and collapsing. One, for the safety of the debris driver. Two, for the potential impact that could have on residents. It could be inconvenienced or worse. So we do look at that specifically with the bridges when the debris trucks are planning their routes.
All right, we got another one over here.
My name's Jerry Richard. I think I know the answer to the question of who, but someone needs to get back in touch with the Coast Guard directly to represent not just this community, but the community of the entire parish. This is an emergency. All of these bridges have an effect on commercial traffic. Commercial traffic can, by choice, be adjusted. It takes somebody to go forward and request that. If it's never requested, it's never addressed. My point is, somebody needs to get the attention of the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard is the government agency that controls it, but that doesn't mean their absolute determination goes unchallenged or unrequested for change.
I guess I'll take that one. They have been contacted. They are working on, and I think Jason's been working with them. We are working on, especially if an emergency comes out, that they're just going to have to reroute the boat traffic. We can't have y'all down here with no way access off the island. So I think that is in the works. Hopefully we don't have the emergency where we have to force hand, but I think we'll be okay because we'll make something happen, when it comes to that, because the boats will just have to go around. Thank you.
The premise about this with the Coast Guard is that they have right of way, that the waterways were here first in a lot of it.
We have asked it and we have demanded it. However, the Coast Guard takes precedent over local and state government without the President of the United States saying the Coast Guard has to stop. Your senators right here and your representatives are right here, and we have all asked those questions. Ma'am, you have a question. Oh, and if anybody has a question, tonight's your night. So I'm willing to stay here all night so that every single question is answered. So I'm not in a rush. I hope these gentlemen aren't in a rush either. So every single question I want it answered tonight, because you guys have called me, you've called President Bergeron, and so we just want to make sure that you're getting all of your answers tonight.
Hi, my name is Judy Billiot. I was hoping to wait till all the critical stuff was over, but my pet peeve, when the bridge is finally fixed, the Dularge Bridge, I want to know if both approaches are the same width. Could both approaches have 3 lanes so that the people coming from Houma to Dularge wouldn't have to wait for the navigation bridge to release their car traffic before we can get home? Why can't there be 3 lanes on both approaches?
Okay. Okay.
The traffic backs up because they only got 2 lanes on top of the bridge. After the bridge opens, 3 lanes all day, so the ones coming to Dularge get in that right lane and not be stuck in that.
Okay. Which one? Yeah, we did a tour, and we went and looked at a number of them in the area. I went with President Bergeron and Secretary Ledet, yeah. I thought you had said leg, and you said lane. I'm sorry, that's what was throwing me off. We're gonna look at. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we can look at that, ma'am. Thank you for that suggestion. Are they transcribing this? Is anybody transcribing this meeting? Y'all recording it? Okay, we need to go through some of this feedback. I didn't bring anybody to write this down. Okay.
All right, Tammy Knight. So, Ross addressed what I wanted to say about the future. Okay, I know we're gonna fix the bridge, and I thank you guys for doing everything y'all can. But let's look at the future. I know you talked about its decisions and budgets and whatever, but I'm looking at you guys as our representatives to help us for our future to have an overpass. What do we need to do to help you do your job to get the funding for us to get that overpass? How can we do that?
I have to say, we're already in process of asking for that. I actually got with the Senate President. We're supposed to get with the governor. And, you know, my biggest thing is I've been trying to bring home as much money to Terrebonne and Lafourche as I can. And one of the biggest things I push is they always holler that we got $1 billion for Highway 1 going to Port Fourchon. But what a lot of people don't realize, that Port Fourchon brings in $500 million a day to the US GDP. So they had their money back in 2 days. So we're still steady fighting to get whatever we can get here, and really pushing hard for an overpass to go over the navigational and the intercoastal. The biggest thing is back in the day, the guy who designed the Dularge Bridge was Milford, Gene Milford. Well, when I bought my property on Bayou La Carpe, we were putting in an overhead crane, and Gene Milford was the engineer. Well, we get stuck at the bridge, and I start hollering, I hear 2 or 3 foot higher, we wouldn't have to open the bridge. I don't know what darn engineer did this, and the truck went silent. So I turned at him, I said, well, do you know? He said, you're sitting in the same truck with him. I said, uh-oh. So anyway, his complaint was he needed more time to get enough acreage to have the overpass ramps the length they needed to be to go up over both. And everybody was pushing to start the bridge, and he told he had to be driving pilings by a certain date or he was going to lose his job, and that's why we ended up with a bridge 3 foot short. And that's from the horse's mouth. And so now we're dealing with it all these years later, but we're going to push hard, I know I am, to go ahead and get us an overpass over both of them so we won't have these situations anymore. I'm going to do everything I can. I got another term coming up. So between these 2 years I have left in my second term and my fourth term, hopefully I'll have something done. Thank y'all.
Thank you, Senator Fessy, and I've made the request as well. As soon as the bridge started having difficulty, that was the first thing we asked was, can we go ahead and get about $60 to $80 million for a bridge? Do you have a question, sir? He's got a question, and then... Start sending a letter to the governor. Yes, I mean, that's what we need, is we need the governor. And look, he's been great. He's been very supportive. Anytime we need something, he's been there to help, even bringing his team down here. So he's well aware. Actually, everyone in the state is well aware. Every time I speak to somebody, they ask me, how's your bridges down there? So everybody knows. Everybody is moving in the same direction. And I have you, but there's two things I want to bring up real quick that was brought up to me. One thing was a federal emergency, right? So I want to explain to you guys a little bit about what happens with a federal emergency. Parish president did a local emergency, which was fabulous. It brought a lot of attention. The news media came down. It was really wonderful to get that attention on us. But for the governor to declare a state of an emergency, we have to have a natural disaster. So this was not a natural disaster. This was just an unfortunate 50 years of bad maintenance, right? And that's actually what we're dealing with. So we have requested it. However, the law is that we cannot have a federal emergency. So that was one question. Another question that came up to me is, why is there so many incompetent people working for DOTD? Well, sorry. So we recognize this, and so Governor Landry recognized this as well. In January 1 of this year, before this term started, Governor Landry had a very heated meeting with all of DOTD, the Senate President, and the House Speaker, and a lot of people that are way above my head. And so he sat with them and he said, yo, we got a cultural problem. We got an issue with DOTD. We need to change it. We need to fix it. And guess what we did? We filed a bunch of bills that completely rehauled DOTD. That happened in March of this year. Literally this year. Remember, Jeff Landry took office just a year and a half ago. So we've done that. We have a new director, Glenn Leday. We have a lot of good people. We've got Scott. We've got a lot of really great people with DOTD. And we did a complete overhaul. We also put about $700 million to backfill a lot of the lack of maintenance that we have. And so we recognize that there was an issue. And so when we say, you know, DOT was incompetent, well, they were. I mean, for 50 years they were, and we recognize it, but we're fixing it, we're changing it, and just know everyone in the state knows that what we're going through, and unfortunately, we're just kind of the recipients of that. So we do have him, and then I've got Ms. Shawnee wants to close it out with questions. So I'm going to give it here to Mr. Terrio.
So the real story is, that's not the bridge we were supposed to have.
Tell it like it is.
My wife went to every meeting they had. The bridge we had was supposed to be the Prospect Bridge or one like it, very much like it. Back in the day, I worked on a drilling rig. When you was coming through a bridge, you had to tear the derrick down to be able to pass through a bridge. So now you can lay a derrick down now, but back in the day you didn't. Well, guess who was on the other side of the bridge? And guess who was the governor? So when that they found out that they wouldn't have to tear that derrick down every time. We winded up getting a bridge that would let the derrick pass right through the middle. Louisiana politics. It's always the same. Edwin Edwards was great. He's the one that got us the bridge, made things work, but he died a very rich man. So that's the real story about that bridge. Was not the bridge that we were supposed to have. Doesn't do us no good today, but that's what happened to that bridge.
And just to clarify, that was 50 years ago. My good friend Danny Babin was only 27 years old back then. Yeah.
And I'd just like to say, Gene Milford said he had a whole different design, and he was forced to go with that bridge because it was not supposed to open and close.
All right, any other before we get to Miss Shawnee who wants to close it out with questions? What you got? Raise your hand because I can't see. Oh, all right, come on down. It's like the Price is Right.
Josh Dularge lived down here. What are they going to do with the curfew on the Homan Ave? Are they going to extend the hours some? Are we going to extend the hours on the Homan Ave for the curfew? Get with the Coast Guard to like in the mornings till 9 o'clock? You know, I mean, or earlier? Yeah, because my kids just started school here in Terrebonne High. She's been tardy every morning with the buses.
We can request curfew changes to the Coast Guard at any time for any bridge and anything we want. I tried to do this in New Orleans, and I was asked to provide data to support the decision why it was necessary. I submitted paper that was from the table to where my hand is right now, and it's quite a feat to change. This is not just, unless it's an emergency, to do this under normal conditions, it's very difficult. And it's possible, but difficult, and requires quite a bit of justification and data-driven support to get that done.
Chad Grimm, I'm a neighbor of Josh, and there is a curfew on the Nav Bridge. They don't seem to follow that though. The curfew's written on it. I've got a photo of it in my pocket. They do not follow that curfew. So why would they follow a new curfew?
Okay, that's a problem. I need to know that. You telling me the bridge tenders opening the bridge up when they're not supposed to? Yeah. Yeah.
Every morning, every afternoon, that bridge is open before and after it's supposed to be closed.
Okay, no, that's not. Yeah, we need to talk about that. Yeah, that's not acceptable.
So I want to throw out, so when the bridge first went down, I started calling our local Coast Guard person. He directed me to the person that deals with bridges in New Orleans, and I called him the day, it was I think on Wednesday, they called me that the bridge was going to be closed the first time, and I said, I need this done. And it was an earlier curfew, getting times for early curfew, late curfew, and for lunch. And without skipping a beat, he said, done. And they called DOTD, because DOTD opens those bridges, and said, make this happen. They were supposed to do it for the second closure. I found out a couple days ago that it wasn't. And we've been trying to get in touch since then to say we need this to happen. Both of us are working that conversation, and at the same time saying, who can we talk to? I've had conversations with Higgins' office that represents our area, and in certain situations, as hard as we try, we're not answered. I can tell you we're not giving up, and we're trying to get these things adjusted on a regular basis. And until then, we're working with law enforcement. We're working to do everything we can to get the traffic flowing. You know, and look, we're getting caught in the same traffic. We understand it, and we hate it, and it's frustrating. But I can tell you that we're not stopping fighting, for sure, to make sure that this traffic flows as best as possible. When I called Travis on the way down here today, I was like, the traffic's to the old by Dularge Road. And he was like, well, it's down to Crozier earlier, so it is flowing a little bit better. But we know a rainstorm and a tunnel wreck, everything just wipes that out, right? And so, I know, look, they asked us, when do you have a wreck in the tunnel? Every time it rains, right? And look, the first day we had 3 in the tunnel. We had 1 at, I think, Tunnel and Grand Kaya, another one at Park. The next day, one of our officers is going to check on a car that's stalled and somebody slams in the back of him, right? So, you know, it's frustrating. And we all have to just be a little bit more aware, take our time a little bit, try to adjust our schedules. We've been having calls with the companies trying to see if they can let in earlier or later or whatever it may be. If anybody has an idea that we have not thought of, we'd love to hear it, right? Because we are trying to do everything we can to make this traffic move around. But I can tell you, if there's an emergency, I have no doubt in my mind that our first responders are going to do whatever they got to do, however they got to do it, and things will be open and will be closed at the best level it can be to make sure that our residents are not left in a bind. So, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, one more over here. Oh, wait, over here.
She says one more. We'll answer questions till y'all done.
Dealing with curfews while you're talking about it, when we had the curfew on the bigger bridge, on Dularge Bridge, DOTD was not opening it at the time that it was supposed to. I witnessed twice in that short span, waited 15 minutes in traffic I've watched the crew at like, well, I forgot the time, but it was at least 20 minutes after we were supposed to be open. They were moving the barricades. So if we can get it open when they state they're gonna open it, that'd be great.
And I'll say this, you can call us if you see something's not happening. We reach out on a regular basis. We understand the bridge isn't opening. Do you want to give a number also that people could call if they don't want to call us and call y'all directly? Is there a better number?
Yeah, I can give you a number. It's 504-437-3150. That's our switchboard operator, and we'll route that. We'll route that to the appropriate party. Yeah, I need to know about those things. That's, you know, it's hard enough dealing with what we're dealing with, but when we're not getting bridges open or operating when they're supposed to, that's, yeah, I need to know about that when that's happening.
Do we have any other questions before we let Ms. Shawnee have them? All right, we have one. Mr. Willie, hold on.
They got people over there too, Jason.
Wait.
Willie Daisy. We pretty much covered the bridge situation. I have a lot of problem with the highway itself that we have. It's when it rains, the water stands on the highway. The shoulders need to be graded so this water could drain off. Maybe a quarter mile above Faou Canal, there's part of the shoulder that's about a foot above the road.
So the shoulder's damming the water on the road?
The shoulders is holding the water on the road, and it's very dangerous for hydroplaning. And you hydroplane when a car's coming and you run into another car, you can get killed, you can kill kids and everything else in another car. It's very dangerous. Or down here you could end up in the bayou.
Yeah, no, thank you for that feedback. I mean, I will tell you this, we have crews, their job is to inspect the roads. We have superintendents, they drive around, they see deficiencies, and they get them addressed. But we do depend on the public to also provide feedback on things. We can't see everything, and sometimes something happens quick. This isn't something that happened quick, but I need to know about that, and we can try to grade that shoulder down to where that water will drain. You're gonna put together a list of stuff.
One other thing at the monitor, the screen right here, it says LA 315 overlayment, Tommy Dorsey to the water tower. I suspect that's going to be covering this area about just below the cemetery. That's a bad, bad area right there.
So I can tell you, so we do have meetings quarterly, and that is on there, and it should say will be let in December of 25. Part of that process is gonna be that they're gonna grade the roads, the shoulders. And again, we have this conversation on a regular basis. And so we are expecting that to get done in that project is what we're being told.
We have in a lot of places that's holding water along the shoulder. Because when I was younger, we had road graders that would constantly pass on the shoulders and grade them off so the water wouldn't stay in. And I hadn't seen that probably in the last 40 years. Oh, how old I was.
We got people over here on the bench. All right. Y'all giving me my exercise today.
Jackie Higgins. I think one of the things that is so aggravating to the people down here, you're at the bridge, you're waiting on the bridge. Sure. Oh, look there, it's closing. Oh, his antenna's too high. Open the bridge. He goes, backs up, comes ahead, backs up, comes ahead. Finally, he gets to the bridge. The bar's open. It's like Christmas. I know more than me has felt that way. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I pray my grandkids get to live down here with the bridge that they don't have to stop at 10 times a day.
Thank you for sharing. Any other questions?
Questions? All right, back you.
I have a question about, you said the roads were being repaired. You said the roads were being repaired. We have a problem on LeConte Lane. When High Ridge was resurfaced 2 years ago, LeConte Lane was supposed to be in that same repair. It has never been repaired. I have a hole in the front of my house as big as a garbage truck tire. When the garbage truck tire stops, when they stop in front of my house. The front tires go in that hole. The back, when they stop to get my garbage, back tires go in that hole. It is all the way down that street. Why was not LeConte Lane resurfaced at the same time as High Ridge?
I didn't hear the last part. LeConte, at the same time as what?
Why was LeConte Lane not resurfaced at the same time as High Ridge? Because it was in the same.
Right. Mr. Rome, got a question on LeConte Ridge not being overlaid at the same time. Lane, I'm sorry. High Ridge was overlaid. LeConte Lane was not overlaid. And there's a pothole that she is asking about. Sorry about that.
The pothole is on, hi, I'm David Rowe, I'm the Public Works Director. Hi. The pothole is on LeConte Lane. Okay, what is, like, 100 block, what's the address? In the area?
700.
I'm sorry? Okay. Oh, why it wasn't done with when High Ridge, is that the question? I apologize. Because it was all about funding. We were given, this much money, and that was what we were able to do with that amount of money for that area at the time.
So we're
Yeah. He's gonna come talk to you.
So a couple things, I'll say this real quick. We're gonna get the address to see about the pothole. We are working on some road priority lists to make sure that we get roads fixed. I say this in every town hall, we do not have enough money to fix everything that we have. I wish we did. But we are trying to do the best we can with the money we have. And I gotta say this, and I have this list up here right now. I think we're looking at somewhere between $20 and $25 million worth of road projects with DOTD alone in the next year and a half, right? And so we have Main, we have Park, they have the couplet. They're doing Main and Park all the way down to at least Burglar Highway. We got some stuff going on at 311. We got some stuff going on. Again, you got overlays happening on 315. It is definitely coming. It's never fast enough. But when we do have major issues, and I've told my team this, and I'm gonna say this in front of DOTD, if they get an issue and they can't wait to fix it, go fix it. We'll figure it out after the fact, right? But we are working on a regular basis. We have quarterly meetings, and we are talking about priorities and things that we want to make sure get addressed and fixed. And it's the list that we have. There's a summary list of both north, south, and parish-wide of things that we're working on from a road repair perspective, right? We have 2 bridges out with this parish. One was hit by a barge, the other one was hit by Ida. Right now we're looking, hopefully the end of the year for the Dularge Pontoon Bridge and the 3rd quarter of 26 for the Butte Bridge, right? So those are 2 bridges that we're working on that we're gonna get repaired. That even with the Butte Bridge, we got a local contractor. That bridge will be back in service.
We have another question back here.
All right.
This is for Mr. Scott. About 2 miles up from Fargo Canal, we got about a quarter of a mile section of the road that has no shoulder. If you run up the white line, you're going to be in the water. It's really bad right there in that area. I wish that would be fixed.
Tell me it's eroded away? Okay. We're going to make sure that's written down, that we get them part of the list to make sure they take a look at that.
Scott, can you answer this question? What role does DOTD have with rocking those roads? We want to put some rocks on the side of our roads so that they don't deteriorate anymore, because that's what's happening is the water's pushing up against them and we're having deteriorating roads. So what do we need to get rocks on those roads?
We hit DOTD can provide, these are on parish roads or these are on state roads?
On state roads.
You would just send a request in and we'll look at it.
I'll send that in tomorrow.
Yes.
I know everybody is wondering, but Danny Babin told me our grass on the side of the highways will get cut tomorrow. Our annual cut.
It will be cut tomorrow. All right. Anybody else? All right. Miss Shawnee.
Okay, I'd just like everybody to bear with me a little bit here. First of all, we're from Dularge, and we're all proud to be from Dularge. And we're known for sticking together. After a hurricane, we all come together. We've done it many, many, many times, the last one was Hurricane Ida, and I've never seen a community come together like we did then. I've heard a lot of I don't knows today, and I just find that kind of unacceptable. We've been neglected, and we're not happy about that. We're taxpayers. And the fact that people can stand here and tell us, basically give us no hope because you say there's no funding. I'll be darned. How about we find the funding? They found the funding for many other things. It's time to find the funding for something like this. We didn't ask to be a bayou like someone said earlier. The ship channel was dug. Am I correct? Where's Mr. Dale? I'm sure he knows, right? So that was not we didn't get to vote on that. That wasn't by our choice, okay? And that, in fact, made us the island that we are. Now, we say there is no funding. Well, and I'm speaking here to our state reps and also to our parish. If we were interested in actually seeing a budget, the real copy of the real budget with no redactions, sir, where would we find that?
So, more specifically, any certain budget? Because you have a parish budget, you got a state budget.
Both of them.
Right?
We would like both.
So the parish budget, if I'm not mistaken, is on our website, right? And unredacted, there you go.
That's
One
good
of the
to know.
things we're working on when we upgrade our accounting system is to have a Terrebonne Parish checkbook where you can search and see how much money we collect, how much money we spend, and who we spend it with.
We would like that.
Between here and there, you got questions, we're here to answer them, right? And to understand, when I talk about the fact that we don't have enough money to do everything we want to do, one of the things I did is put together a list of projects of things that are fully funded, partially funded, and wish list items. Right now, we're up to 300 projects totaling about $770 million, of which we're still looking for $500 million worth of money for, right? And that's why when we talk about this road got overlaid and this road didn't get overlaid, or we might do $300,000 worth of striping a year, we're doing that to get things addressed that become the highest priority on the highest traveled road with the most accidents. Those are all the things that we put together to understand and say this becomes the priority. And then what we're doing is, and I heard somebody say some infrastructure funding, we're going out and trying to say, okay, if I was to stripe every road in the parish, it's about $4 million. I just was able to stripe St. Charles and Hollywood, and again, based on traffic, for about $178,000, right? So I just say that to say that, you know, we are working with directors, we're working with our state delegation. We sit down and talk about, one of the slides I have up here is capital outlay projects, right? Everything that is outside of our budget and outside of what is normally planned, we work with capital outlay on. And if you go forward or backwards, there you go. Capital outlay, one of those projects that we've been working to get funded for the last 5 years, Mike, right? 5 years, is Brady Road Bridge. I'm hoping finally now we can go to bid on Brady Road Bridge. The other projects that we tried to get funding for, right, which this is a dry dock, that's outside of the issues that we're dealing with right now. That's about 1.5 million, of which we only have $400,000 right now. But I'm waiting on 2 million. I think this one's done. I think this one needs a little bit more funding. This one needs 1.4 million. Barrow Street, I'm not even gonna talk about that one. Buyer Terrebonne Lock Pump Station, that right there is $11 million. Like just right here, you're probably talking about $60, $70 million worth of projects. And that's how we work together to say, these are the things that have been identified with this stuff down here at the bottom of the last things of wish we could. Somebody thinks it's a good idea. My goal right now is to get to about right here and get these projects done. And because they're partially funded, right? We need $1 million here, 2 million there. At the end of the day, we were able to get Brady Road Bridge this year where we go to bid. And so I say all that to say our budget's there. The state budget we could definitely get a hold of, and we could show you what goes into DOTD. And look, part of this conversation is the fact that they just redid DOTD. They have the Office of Road and Bridge Construction. Archie Chasson, who was parish president of Lafourche Parish, is going to be in charge of that organization to work within DOTD and figure out who's going to do what and what funding gets allocated where. So anything you want to know about numbers and budget, we could have a conversation right now. We can have a conversation after. And any particular questions you say, well, where does the money come from here? Where does the money go there? We could talk about.
Okay, I noticed in Barrow Street, because if you're from Dularge and that Dularge Bridge is open, it's operable. We all travel Barrow Street pretty often. I don't see any fixing of the craters that we go through on Barrow Street.
We'll go back to that slide. So this is capital outlay projects. This
Okay,
is a
it's
different
there.
slide. All right, so I'm looking for, see if Barrow Street is on this one, because it might not be set to be let yet, but I know it is coming. So just give me a second here. 57, 24. Noah, any idea on Barrow? Or Noah went at? I got it on my computer. I can pull my computer and tell you right now when we're looking at Barrow letting. But Barrow, do you have a recollection on when that one's going to get let? 2026, we're being told with Barrow. So these are the projects that are happening right now. And look, everybody goes, why don't we stop this? Right? Like, why we got road work going on Grand Caillou? Why do we have road work going on Park and Main? I'll be honest, I don't want to tell them to leave because I don't know when they're going to come back. So I want to get it done now. And I know it's going to be painful, but in 4 to 6 months, and I'm going to say this with a smile on my face, we'll have something else to complain about, right? But I can tell you, $20 to $25 million, and not everything's listed up here, but in Terrebonne Parish with DOTD into 26-27 on road projects. So it is coming, and it's not going to be fast enough, and we're going to patch it as we find it. But go ahead, I'm sorry.
So, like I was saying earlier, I asked if you'd seen the grass coming down Highway 315. Now it's going to be cut tomorrow, and then hopefully, and we put the order in for the week of the fair. What did you, but it's not only here, like, it's the whole, like, Homa just doesn't look great anymore. Even trying to come into Homa doesn't look great anymore for people that are visiting or people that are coming in and thinking about working at our hospitals or thinking about working, you know, taking jobs in these places or wanting to come here and build a business. If I came here, I'd probably look for the nearest roundabout and do a whirly bird and take the next exit out because it looks terrible. The interstates are horrible. The ramps coming off the interstates, there's trees growing into the road from the ramps. It's terrible. I mean, do the politicians, do the people just close their eyes? I hope not because you're driving, but I didn't listen.
To answer your earlier question, that you didn't have the microphone. You said, "Are you okay with that, or is that acceptable to you?" No, it's not. We're doing.
It happens all the time. We're lucky if we get 2 cuts a year.
It should be more than that. I will tell you, you know, and I can say this to you, and this to you, and this to you, and this to you. It's been a very challenging mowing season this year. With the wet, with the heat, with the rain, it's been very difficult, and it's hard to keep up with. And we're doing, with the resources we have, with the money we have, we're doing the best we can.
You know what I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but we're hearing about money, money, money. But take a look at the budgets and see how much some of these projects, the money that they're paying for these things. There's no way it should cost $4 million to paint some lines on a highway. Is it statewide, you said, or is that parish-wide? I think it's parish-wide. That's a lot of money. Why are things so expensive now? Is it so many hands in the pot? Is it insurance? Is it permitting? Help us out there.
There's inflation, inflationary costs, project costs have gone up since the pandemic. At least in some cases, 20 to 30%. They just, it's more expensive.
Will it ever come down?
It's harder for it to come back, but I mean, you could go to the grocery store and see this. If if you were buying eggs a few months ago, I mean, it's a challenge, and it costs a lot more money now than it did even 5 years ago to do projects.
Sorry about that. Okay, so let me address the $4 million. We have 660 miles of highway in the parish that belongs to the parish.
I was just using that as an example.
Right. So when I say $4 million, I'm talking about $4 million to fix because we have some roads that are fine. So a running list of roads that need striping right now, of the 660 miles of roadway, is about $4 million worth of striping. Right now, if I redo a road and I'm gonna stripe it when I do it, that's a different story. But just on striping, $4 million to cover that 660 miles of highway.
I have just a couple more things. Our property values, I feel could be taken a hit. Like, people have houses for sale that, my daughter's a realtor, they have open houses with a whole parade of homes with all the addresses of houses for sale in Dularge. Nobody shows up for the open houses. Number one, insurances are high. And then now we have the bridge situation, and they know this can happen whenever it happens. It can happen over and over again. Do they want to come down here and live if there's not proper, or the word I'm looking for? Reliable transportation. Well, no, I mean, property values. I mean, that's a whole other issue. People trying to buy houses and things like that. I know it has nothing to do with you. Okay, let's move on, but that is a concern of ours.
Right. And as I've seen so far, property values have actually increased. Right now.
Here with these bridges?
What's that?
Here with the bridge situations?
I mean, overall, look, I've been having this conversation for 10 years now. It costs just as much to buy a house in Terrebonne Parish as it does in Houston. You probably get a better house in Houston.
We're talking about Dularge.
I know.
Okay.
But Dularge, look, at the end of the day, I grew up in Berg, Dularge. You got a couple bayou areas that do maintain a higher value of houses. We are fighting insurance. I got 2 or 3 slides on that to have that conversation, but from a property value perspective, it definitely all matters. That, quality of life, roads, all the work, everything being cut, cleaned, all the stuff we need that's broken needs to be fixed, all that.
Okay. Do we have an extra motor on standby for the bridge in case one of the motors go out? Is that a possibility?
No, we don't have a spare motor for that bridge. Those motors have to be rebuilt. Is it a possibility to get one? Yeah, it's a possibility. We don't have one. We did get the motors from Dularge that had to be rebuilt. They were rebuilt. We put them in the field. We had another issue with them. They had to go back to the machine shop. We have a number of movable bridges in both New Orleans and here, and we don't have a lot of spare motors.
Are they that expensive?
They're expensive and they're scarce. These are older type of, these are not anything you get off the shelf at Home Depot.
So
These have to be custom built, they have to be custom repaired. This is not going in and changing out a carburetor on a lawnmower.
Last thing, we have a fair that we do every year. Jason, you're familiar with it, the Dularge Fair. It's coming up October 10th through the 12th. And I need to know how to advertise this with our bridge situation. I mean, what are our options there? That's what, 8 weeks, 9 weeks away?
So if we're talking 5 weeks on the repair they're talking about, what's that? Right, and look, again, we're both working with Coast Guard, our representatives are working with Coast Guard, and I'm telling you, screaming from the mountaintops of this needs to change. And I had a conversation I had with Boudreaux Canal. Like, they were working on repair, and the conversation I was having with the Coast Guard is, if that repair doesn't work, what are we talking about to put a temporary bridge on Boudreaux Canal? Because the Coast Guard has to make the call. Is that even an option? Like, if I was to ask you right now, are you 50%, 60%, 80% positive that we could block that and make a permanent bridge? You know, those are conversations that we are having. We're never doing everything we can prep for it to see if there is an issue. I can guarantee you, if it's in our power, it will happen. And if it ain't in our power, we'll tell you why and help us, call this person, reach out to that person, because that's what we need to help make sure our voices are heard in Terrebonne Parish.
Shawnee, I'm gonna send that request tomorrow. If you could text me the exact dates of the Dularge Fair and the times that it ends, I'm gonna send that tomorrow so they can start working on that immediately. The times about the curfew times for the bridges, yeah. So I'll do that first thing tomorrow. Just send me that information first thing tomorrow. You got my cell. Can you explain activate the values?
Bring me my CDBGR slide. All right, so activate the bayous. So we have one here. I'm looking to see of the other one. Yeah, activate the bayou to boat launch. So we're gonna have boat launches. We're looking around, and we got some dredging that's gonna be happening. Those bayous that we are working on dredging related to activate the bayou are Bayou Grand Caillou and Bayou Dularge. So we're working to get the sediment out, get them healthier, get the debris cleaned out. We have a few other things that are going on related to, like Hurricane Francine has some debris removal in it. We have a project that we're working on Bayou Terrebonne that's not related to activate the bayou. And so we also have a project for derelict vessel pickup that we're doing in Bayou Grand Caillou to start, because that was the biggest concentration for the best bang for our buck. And so we have multiple projects that are going on to clean the waterways, get rid of debris, get rid of vegetation, get rid of vessels. And right now we're playing with about $2 million on vessels. One was $1 million insurance, the other one was $1 million with a grant. But right now we're going through, and this is something I love to share. We started out with 30 vessels to pick up in Bayou Grand Caillou. After we put the stickers on them and let the owners know we were about to come take them, we only had to deal with 14. And so to make our waterways healthy, to make sure the water flows, get rid of the sediment, that's something that's definitely a priority in Terrebonne Parish. You see it real quick?
All right, we have one question. I want to just address this. We had a question of exactly when the bridge is going to start being repaired, so I'm going to let Scott answer that.
We're anticipating late next week or the week after that. That's included in the 5 weeks starts now. From now is the 5 weeks that we're going to have the repair done. It's going to be material availability. Some of these things they're going to be able to get are not going to be a problem. Some of it might be beyond their control, but we're anticipating at the very latest in the next couple of weeks of getting at least started out there. But the most important thing is that 5 week timeline I'm giving you from right now of having this bridge open to at least during curfew times.
All right, we'll come. David Noah, dredging, cleanup, Voisin Bridge to Fagu Canal. Does that sound familiar? So the cleanup, the dredging, the Francine, they're asking about from Voisin to Fagu Canal. Any idea on the footprint of that activate the bayou?
Yes, so the Activate the Bayou dredging project, there's 2 phases of that. One's going to be for Grand Caillou Bayou and one's going to be for Bayou Dularge. So the idea is to start, the whole point of dredging the bayou is to create more flow. So obviously we'll start at the north and we'll go till we achieve the flow that we want. The project's going to be designed, but it's going to tell us what kind of slope we need and how far we need to go. But I mean, wherever it's chalked up now, that's going to be cleaned out with that project. And we have $5 million allocated for that. So. Okay. All right, don't say that too loud. So we're going to design and make sure that's included. Whatever needs to be cleaned out, I mean, it's obvious, right? We know what we need to do, we know what it looks like, so we'll make sure that it's flowing good, for sure.
One of the projects that we did what we call a snag and clear from Lafayette to Westside Boulevard, and we did that to get an idea. Because the original project for Bayou Terrebonne was a -6, and it was about $8 to $9 million, not enough to dredge Bayou Terrebonne all the way to the parish line. So we looked and said, we got this much money, what kind of project can we do to handle the bayou, do that footprint? It's that concept to help design what we want to do with Bayou Grand Caillou and Bayou Dularge. What's allowed, again, combinations of working on Francine, debris cleanup, and implementing a grant here and some other things, and using some CDBR funding to get those waterways clean. So that we didn't go and say, well, we don't know how much. We said, this is what we did, and this is how much it cost. What can I do to get my best bang for my buck in those other bayous? You're welcome. Any other questions? I answer questions all night, so.
Noticed whenever you came up here, I know you saw the vegetation in the bayou coming out. Going around Terrebonne Parish, you see a lot of other bayous are getting attention, spraying Roundup and everything, taking care of it. Why we never saw that over here?
Do you have a specific bayou? Just Dularge? So Dularge, we hadn't done anything because we know there's projects coming, right? So what we're trying to do is knock out some other areas that don't have a project like this. And we redid our vegetation contract. We're getting more bang for our buck. Some situations where we would spray, we had to cut so that we could spray. Other areas, it's called fecon, and when you scrape the ditch, we had to do a fecon so that we come back and spray. And so as we work through with this new contract that had started in March, it's taken us longer because everything kind of just rolls north to south, right? That's kind of how we do it, especially with the waterways, because you want to make sure if you clean up further ahead, it can't get down anyway. So we got to work our way from where the water flows. So in certain situations, we'll go south to north, other situations, we'll go north to south. With the vegetation contract, we're looking at some areas. In fact, we're going to be doing a test here shortly with a company called Aquagator about what can we do to get some lilies out, what can we do to spray it, and going through and what does that cost per mile, and then trying to figure out maybe we need to take some money that we normally spend here and put it there. And again, get all the waterways healthy. The lilies, when you look at the fact that everybody was betting on this 135-year freeze would kill the lilies, barely put it in, right? I mean, they're looking at going, come on, freeze, and you're like, oh, that didn't work. So we're working with Wildlife Fisheries, cover some areas in Terrebonne Parish. Working with them, we're working with other technologies. We're going to figure out everything we can. I'm telling you, having our waterways healthy and flowing is a priority for our parish, just as much as road and bridges and safety, right? It's all that goes together. Louisiana. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I don't know if this is anything that y'all control, but there's been a lot of what I think is farm gators in the bayou. They'll just come right up to you and they're huge. This is a tragedy waiting to happen. I mean, I've talked to like mothers who are like, oh, I don't want my kids fishing in the bayou anymore. I don't want those gators to come and eat a kid or a pet or anything bad happen.
I tell you, if you see some gators somewhere and you see a lot, let us know. I mean, we're working with Wildlife Fisheries on tags and getting that stuff cleared out. But the biggest thing I can say this, and this is a saying that I tell all our employees and every resident: if you see something, say something, right? We upgraded the website to make it easier to report stuff. You can call 868-5050. The first thing that we need to do is we need to know. And by us knowing we got gators in that area, then we can make sure some resources get to it. And we're working to make sure we're addressing those higher priorities. So if you know specific areas, write them down for us so we can make sure we send somebody to go take a look at that. Thank you. Young man right there getting involved in the community, right? That's the future. What? Any other questions? And I got a presentation. We'll come back and do that. But look, I tell you, we're working on fixing broken stuff. One of the stats that I love is in 2024 alone, we tore down 191 blighted properties, right? But the thing I love even more than that is the more we go through this process, the more residents are taking care of it themselves. So the numbers are going up on both vessels and property that residents are tearing down. We still have another 400 properties to go through that are on that list, and we're trying to get those done as fast as we can. But cutting the grass, fixing the roads, making sure things aren't broken and that it, something causes you a problem with your vehicle after everything else that you deal with, I can guarantee we'll find those battles for y'all. Any other questions? Anything at all? What's that? Waiting for the fair. I'll be here for the fair. I'll let me some shrimp boulettes and some horse races. And look, my gosh, putting the slides up as we're talking about stuff. I can tell you that, especially with the CDBGR funding, we have a tremendous opportunity. It's $117 million of reimbursable money from the state that's coming through HUD of a shot in the arm for our community to really make a difference, even though it's 4 years after the storm. I'll say this quietly. We found out today we're pretty much going to be obligated on our power plant, and that's a project we'll go better get kicked off. I'm hoping in 26. And so things are happening. It's not going to happen fast enough, but don't quit calling. Don't quit showing up. Tell us the things you guys feel like need to be fixed and taken care of. We're going to do everything we can to make sure it is such. So, any other questions? Any other things? All right, well, I thank y'all for coming out here and staying this whole time. I want to thank our team. I want to thank DOTD. I can tell you, they probably get tired of hearing from me. I get tired of hearing from them. They'll call sometimes. I'm like, you're joking, right? But we are working together. We are definitely doing. And look, I can tell you this with our group. We're meeting. If you name a group, even the Coast Guard, we're having conversations on a quarterly basis. Wildlife Fisheries, Corps of Engineers. You should go down the line. There's no hesitation from us, and there's no shyness from us that says, why this, why not? Every day, it should be better. We're working to make it as best as our residents deserve, and we're definitely going to keep fighting for you. So thank y'all, be safe, and God bless.